The chairman of the Senate Banking Committee is joining us now live. You were in that meeting, Senator Dodd. Dana Bash, our reporter, says she's hearing it was, quote, contentious. Was it contentious?
Well, that's, yeah, contentious is certainly for a moment or so. I mean,
when you say for a moment or so, what happened?
Well, it was a good meeting. The president certainly called upon all of us to respond to this moment, and the Secretary of the Treasury made the point, and Barack Obama laid out the importance of all of this. What threw us off is that all of a sudden there was some new core agreement floating around, which no one had heard of before until we sort of got to the White House, and that was distracting.
Who introduced that?
Well, we're told it came out of the Republican House. We were even told at one point that this was maybe John McCain was floating the idea, that Hank Paulson was considering it, and of course Barney Frank and I, along with Republicans from the House and the Senate, of course, had spent 3 hours this morning working on a different core. We were told for the last 7 days was the core issue that would give the Secretary authority to move to deal with the crisis, but simultaneously protect taxpayers' accountability, deal with the foreclosure issue. All of the things the President mentioned last evening were going to be important as well. What happened here, basically, well, if you want an honest appraisal from me, and the thing is, we've been spending a lot of time. I'm tired. I've spent almost seven straight days at this and trying to come up with a workout plan for our economy, a rescue plan. What this looked like to me was a rescue plan for John McCain for 2 hours, and it took us away from the work we're trying to do today. Serious people trying to do serious work to come up with an answer. Not everyone's going to support this, Wolf, I'll tell you. There are going to be people who will not be happy with this, and I understand it. There'll be no parades, no bunting. This is a sad day for the country that we have to be dealing with a crisis like this with the amount of money involved. But I'm convinced, as many are, that the situation is grave, and responsible people need to fashion something that can work and that will enjoy the kind of support of our colleagues. To be distracted for 2 or 3 hours by political theater doesn't help.
Well, in this new so-called core agreement that was just introduced that blindsided you and Barney Frank and some of the others who had been working over these past 7 days, was there a deal breaker in there? Was there any substantive new issue that you couldn't go along with?
Well, I don't even know what it is, and no one could explain it, and Hank Paulson couldn't describe it either. What I'm going to do is go back where I was at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and that is with people like Judd Gregg and Bob Bennett and Bob Corker and Barney Frank and Chuck Schumer, along with Jack Reed and Kent Conrad and Barney Frank and others. We're putting together some principles. They're not agreed to until obviously our caucuses have seen them, but they were principles around which we thought we could bring to our respective caucuses and the Treasury a way to move forward. I'm going to get back on that track again because I think that's what people want of us. If we're going to do this, we want it done in a responsible way to protect taxpayers, make sure that people on Main Street are going to be as well protected as the crowd on Wall Street. We're going to make sure, for instance, there's no executive compensation here that from greedy people who helped create this problem. So there are ideas there that we continue to work on. My hope is we can get a deal.